So welcome everyone. Happy New Year 2026. Yay. We have a big crowd tonight. We have lots of new people. I've met or talked to quite a few. I'll tell you who I know is here. Mark and Susan are first timers. Mr. and Mrs. Holyoke, Andy, there's in the back, is here. Tim standing is here. Your first time here, right? Anyone else? First time here. What's your name, sir? Dale Monroe. How did you find out about us? Okay. Okay. Well, welcome. Welcome. Hope you come back for more. A- Anyone else? First time? Yes. Yes, ma'am. What's your name? Oh, and how did you find out about us? Oh, okay. Well, welcome. Welcome. There are a couple seats up front here. First row. So tonight we have a great program for you. Our President Joe Macasek, excellent historian, is going to talk about mining in New Jersey. And you all remember we had the big sinkhole in Route 80 a while back. That was because of the mining history in New Jersey. So before we get there, let me just tell you, we got a lot of upcoming events. I'm going to have a whole list here, and this is just the first half of the year. So lots of exciting things. It's our country's 250th anniversary. So the 200th anniversary celebration is not just the history that took place 250 years ago. It's a whole breadth of history in the last 250 years. So that includes the canal history too. So we're going to have a lot of really great stuff going on. And we'll be, follow our website, follow our Facebook group, Instagram. We'll be telling you all about it. But here's some things coming up. This Sunday, 2 days from now, Stanhope United Methodist Church, it's their 105th anniversary. They were going to have 100th, and COVID killed that. So they're having 105th anniversary. I'll be giving a short talk on the Morris Canal through Stanhope, and Marty Kane with the Lake Back Historical Society. Excellent speaker. He'll be giving a talk too. So if you want to come out Stanhope Sunday, I will also, anyone's interested, do a impromptu walking tour of Stanhope. You can see all the canal sites there. Sunday, February 1st, DNR, I'm leading a canal walk. Demont Lane to Landing Lane. This is a nice, easy, level section of towpath. It's between the river and the canal. Very nice. You see some historic homes. You can see an eagle nest on the other side of the river. You bring binoculars, see if you can see any eagles. And you see the new spillway that was built. We'll talk a little bit about water management on that canal. So that's DNR Canal. If you want to come to that, sign up. The email's on the website because I'll have to look. If it's icy, I'll cancel it. But, I'll have it, no matter the temperature, I'll have the walk unless it's dangerous. Tuesday, February 17th, I'll be doing a virtual Morris Canal talk. So any of you who are new to the Morris Canal, you want an introductory lecture, that's on the 17th. That's with Schoharie Crossing, which is the Erie Canal Group. And then on March 8th, Sunday, I'll be doing an in-person talk on the Morris Canal. That's on the Kinnelon Historical Museum. John Kenny, raise your hand. So he's hosting that. So we hope you come out for that. Sunday, March 14th, I'll be doing a bike ride on the DNR Canal, Griggstown to Kingston. Easy 5 mile each way. It's level. We'll be doing stops. And when we get to Kingston, the lock tender's house will be open. We can go into it, and there'll be docents with the Kingston Historical Society who will talk a little bit about the history there. Interesting Revolutionary War history. 250 years ago, the crossing of the Delaware, Battle of Trenton and Princeton, Kingston, George Washington made the decision not to pursue the British to New Brunswick, but to come up to headquarters in Morristown. So that's a little teaser of Kingston history that you can learn on this bike ride. If you sign up, you need to bring your bike and you need a bike helmet. And again, that's one I'll check the conditions beforehand. Next program meeting, Friday, March 20th, speaker to be determined. Saturday or Sunday, either April 18th or 19th. This is a new event, Montville Canal Day. They were planning to have this in November. It was too soon. They couldn't get it together. So that's targeted for April 18th or 19th. We'll let you know when we get more information about that. Should be, but we'll be there. The canal site will be there. Saturday, May 2nd, Pathways to History. Morris County's Pathways to History. They do it 2 times a year now. We do the Lock 2 East Lock and Tender's House at U Force Park in Wharton. The only completely restored Lock and Tender's house. This is one of the few times a year you can actually go into the house and go into the Lock Tender Shanty. Now, a lot of people congratulate. They say, oh, Canal Society did a great job restoring that lock and house. We didn't do it. Borough of Wharton did it. But we did furnish the inside of the house. So you could see that. And Pathways is a great event. Lots of historic sites around Morris County. Okay, real busy weekend. May 15th, our May program meeting. That's Friday night, same time, same channel. May 16th, the next day, Lake Apacon Block Party. Big event. We'll be there. Fun event. Lots of vendors, lots of boat rides, all kinds of things. The Lake Apacon Museum will be open. Great museum. Then that Sunday, May 17th, Joe will be doing a walking tour of Boonton. Really good. He does a great job. Canal and the whole ironworks here, the whole history of Boonton. Little trivia here. This is called Waterview Boulevard. What's the water? The water is Boonton Reservoir, which is a little bit over there. Boonton Reservoir, I'm sorry, not Boonton Reservoir, Jersey City Reservoir, original location of Boonton. It moved to its current location because of the Morris Canal. So you can learn all about that, and Joe will show you all the sites. May 17th. Wednesday and Thursday, June 17th and 18th, New Jersey Historic Preservation Conference. St. Elizabeth's College, so local will be there, as well as the NJTPA, which is kind of in charge of the whole Morris Canal Greenway. So that's something to look forward to. And then the big event, our biggest event of the year, Waterloo Canal Day. Every year we do it. We're going to do a bigger and better one this year for the 250th, June 27. So that's, put that on your calendars. That's the biggest event of the year. So that just takes us to the first half of the year. A lot of stuff going on. Follow our website, follow email, sign up for emails. Facebook, Instagram, we'll be advertising all that. Okay, so without March program meeting, the next program meeting.
To be determined. I'm doing it.
Oh, you are? Okay. We were shuffling things around, so I know that. Okay. So Bill McAlphy, you stand.
Correct.
Okay, well, see, that's why I didn't, because I was still. So targeted Bill McAlphy, that's our current plan. May change, but.
Canal Society program meeting in DNR Canal territory. Is that on your list?
We're working on that. So,
You don't have a date yet.
Well, our program meetings are going to be the same dates. It's third Friday, March and May. We're working out which ones will be DNR. And so again, I'm just mentioning the dates for now. And then when we get the specifics, we'll give more information about that. Okay. Waterloo Canal Day. So without further ado, our speaker, President Joe Macasek, been doing this for many. Housekeeping. Okay. Do you want to call up Janice, or do you want me to just do it? Okay.
Office manager. Thanks, Joe. Thanks, Joe.
This is Janice Escobar, office manager.
Hi, guys. First thing is please make sure your phones are on vibrate or off or something like that. Number 2, as soon as the meeting is over, there will be time for questions and answers afterwards. However, the cleaning crew does have to get in here. So once the question and answer period is over, then you're more invited. You are all invited to come over and look at the archives and the office and see what's going on over there. The food, if there's any left, will be over there as well. And the last thing is that you people who are sitting in the white chairs, just leave them. Don't touch them. And then we're going to get the other ones out of there. So enjoy the show.
Okay, thank you, Janet. So without further ado, iron mining, iron making in the Morris Canal. Everyone, great big hand for our speaker tonight, President of the Canal Society of New Jersey, Joe Macasek.
Welcome, everybody. Okay, everybody hear me okay? Okay, I can even see the screen. All right, this is going to be a program about iron mining, iron making, and how it related to the Morris Canal. And we're going to talk about how that worked without getting too technical. Making iron gets really technical sometimes. So if we got really technical questions, save those to the end, save them to talking about it in the office. Actually got some props here. Okay, it's going to be a two-part presentation. We're going to talk about the history, and then we're going to talk about the archaeology. It's great to see the pictures. It's great to read about this stuff. But boy, you can actually go out in the wild, in the woods, and find the remains of that iron mining and iron making. And I'm going to share with you a bunch of pictures about my own experiences and looking for wild archaeology. All the archaeology isn't on the History Channel or in Egypt. There's lots of it to be had right here in Morris County. So, okay, moving along. Okay, we got a new clicker. So, the thing about the Highlands of New Jersey, there's lots and lots of iron to be had all along the Appalachian uplift. But right here in Morris County, that red and dark red, there's all kinds of veins of really, really good magnetite iron ore. That's this really, really heavy, dense stuff. And it's actually magnetic. And those veins, actually, many of those veins outcrop right to the surface, which means you can get at them. So as soon, say again?
Put the piece of iron in front of the camera on top of the monitor here. Just so the online viewers can see.
Okay,
Perfect.
good. Got to keep the phones that happy. Okay, lots and lots of iron in nature, in the geography and geology of the East Coast, but not always easy to get to. But right here in New Jersey, there's a lot of veins of really good, rich magnetite ore that outcrop right to the surface, so that you can actually get at them. So the first people who came and began to explore northern New Jersey found that there was lots of things to do in the Highlands of New Jersey besides try to run a really bad farm. And so some of the tech, what did Joe do with the thing? Knew this was going to happen. There we go. Okay. What did you need to do to make iron? You needed lots and lots of space. And so in the 1820s, when Morris Canal was being considered, Mr. McCullough was thinking about a route for his canal across northern New Jersey. He created this map in 1827, and it's a promotional piece. It's suggesting a route for his Morris Canal. And this is a great map for industrial archaeology guys, because he is selling this. He's locating every little dot, every little mark on that map as a furnace or a forge or a mill of some kind. And so all of those industrial business opportunities that are struggling to do business in the Highlands of New Jersey without a transportation system. Wonderful magnetite iron, people running bloomery forges, running blast furnaces, trying to compete with foreign competition, and no transportation system. It costs them more to take their finished products from here to New York than it takes to bring it across the ocean. And so Mr. McCullough is looking to solve that problem. Lots of thought about that good anthracite coal in Pennsylvania. He's got that in his mind too, but he's a Morris County guy, and he's thinking about how he can improve business propositions in Morris County. And so at this particular time, you've got these forges, 51 forges, furnaces, 6 furnaces in operation. You got 30 forges in ruin, 9 furnaces out of operation. They're running out of fuel. They can't compete. And so Mr. McCullough is going to give them an opportunity to do better. Making iron is a complicated thing in this period of time. It takes a huge amount of property to actually be able to run a bloomery forge or a blast furnace. And the great wilderness expanse of North Jersey is already being chopped up into huge plantations. It takes almost an acre a day of forest to produce the charcoal to run a blast furnace for one day. So if you're going to be running a blast furnace, not just for this month or this year, but into the future, you've got to have 5,000 or 6,000 acres of woodland in order to be able to continuously run your operation. And so you see Mount Hope Tract, Hibernia Tract, Denmark Tract, those are all people who are in the iron business who are acquiring huge tracts of land so that they can operate into the future. Okay. Many small forges, bloomery forges. These are forges where you're making wrought iron directly from the ore, an ancient process. Everybody kind of knows, has seen stone stack bloomery, blast furnace things in historic sites. Very impressive, very expensive. Bloomery forges, a very less capital intensive operation. And there were something like 112 bloomery forges in the northern New Jersey, southern New York State area. Just about every place you could build a bloomery forge, somebody was doing that. And so small operations, there's a cross section of one with a hearth making blooms, a hammer pounding those blooms into billets. That's kind of what a bloom looks like. A big chunk of spongy wrought iron that's then pounded to remove the entrained slag and produce very, very tough and gnarly wrought iron. There's a picture of one of those hammers that does it. One thing that you see in the literature all the time is all those cannonballs made in those forges for George Washington to shoot at the British. No, you don't make a cannonball at a forge. There's no way for you to pound out a round cannonball. You do that in a furnace. So just, okay, blast furnace, a much bigger, much more expensive operation where you're actually heating the your charge of ore and fuel and a little bit of limestone to make a slag, and you're making you're smelting your ore, you're breaking the chemical composition of the ore, then you're coming up with a carbon-rich material called pig iron. Great, you can make it into castings of all different kinds, but it's brittle. You pound it, it breaks. You have to take it and you have to reheat it, get that carbon out, turn it into wrought iron, and then you can give it to the blacksmith and he can make you all kinds of things. So those are some pigs up there, and here's those cannonballs. And you can make those very nice pots for grandma to make some stew on. Okay, but for all of those operations, you need fuel. You need charcoal. Charcoal is the world's industrial fuel. I'm searching for that word. You just can't smelt metals with just burning wood. It doesn't work. It's not hot enough. Charcoal is almost pure carbon. It burns very, very hot. And so with charcoal, you can smelt metals and take your whole civilization to another level. But making charcoal is a pretty complicated, messy thing. And I've done it. This is a picture of real charcoal makers in Pennsylvania. They've got a pit going there, and there's a big charcoal wagon. And here is charcoal making at Hopewell Furnace in Pennsylvania. I don't know if they still do it, but they used to twice a year actually do a huge charcoal pit that size. And here's one of our board members, Bierce Riley, dressed for the occasion, shoveling some dirt on a charcoal pit. It's a huge pile of very carefully stacked wood that's covered with earth to restrict the amount of air that gets inside, and the whole thing is not burned but charred. You're getting rid of all of the volatiles in that wood until you've got just pure carbon. And so, having done this with beers, it's a long, dirty process. And so, but this is the way for thousands of years iron was made. Here's pictures of a charcoal pit. They call that mound a pit. That's just the terminology used. And that's a charcoal house for Greenwood Furnace in Pennsylvania. A huge wagon full of charcoal being brought and stored in. A furnace is burning, acres worth of wood every day. So you have to have a huge building to hold your charcoal. So, that's Mr. Douglas, and the Morris Canal is going to need lots of iron to make itself work, besides transporting iron for the manufacturers that it's passing by. And so you need iron for rails, iron for castings, iron for chains. And so many of the forges and furnaces supplied the material that was required to build the canal. And so, and again, we talk about, everybody talks about tariffs now, all the drama about tariffs. Well, one of the things that helped the iron industry originally was that Great Britain was running out of that charcoal. They were cut down all their forests. And so they wanted to encourage the iron makers in this country to make pig iron for them, but not wrought iron. They didn't want to have to compete. So that worked very well for them. And of course, it was actually illegal for them to do rolling and sledding and making finished products. No. They wanted us to ship them the pig iron, and they would ship us back the finished products. Thank you very much. Come on. Okay. So to solve that problem of transportation, this is where canals start to come in. And it's not just about iron. It's about that other black material, that anthracite coal in eastern Pennsylvania, millions of tons of coal. And everybody is very interested in being able to make use of that. It's not exactly a mystery. In Great Britain, they've been doing this for years already. Great Britain has got lots and lots of coal in just the right places. And so, again, inland transportation, as we understand it now, is a new phenomenon. The ability to get onto Route 80 and zoom, off you go. In an hour, you're already past the water gap and you're into Pennsylvania. And those semi trucks are delivering all your goodies coming the other way. And in the 1800s, that kind of inland transportation was just not available. Nobody built roads like that. People did wonderful world trade with ships in the ocean, but moving things over land, no, that just didn't work. So and especially in this country that has a great coastline, but it doesn't have a lot of rivers. It doesn't have a lot of natural water resources that lead into the hinterland. And so, well, what are you going to do with that? You've got this great country, you've got a lot of resources. You need to develop transportation systems, and just making turnpike roads in those days was, that was okay, but not nearly what was required to really be able to do business. So one of the first uh, things that was thought of is, well, let's do like they do in Europe already. Let's build canals. And so a great incentive to that was that coal. Everybody, well, not everybody, people knew that that coal was a very valuable thing if you could just transport it to some place where you could sell it. And so, as you can see, those red lines are New Jersey's answer to delivering coal to the New York market. And other canals were built to deliver coal to the Pennsylvania market, and even that D&H canal built up couldn't quite get over the geography to go straight for the New York market. They went up to hit the Delaware River, the Hudson River. So, and of course, our canal, the Morris Canal, is going that difficult but straight line across the highlands of New Jersey, up and over the highlands, and directly at the New York market. A difficult thing to do, but it's going to do wonders for those people who are mining and making iron in those highlands. And so, in places like Boonton that doesn't really exist yet, people from New York, venture capitalists from New York, uh, who have been in the iron selling business for years, are looking for a location in New Jersey, in the hinterland, where they can get into the iron making business. And they, of course, know that the Morris Canal is going to be coming right through an area that's just right for them. Lots and lots of water power, access to the mines, access to markets. And so the New Jersey Iron Company is going to create the town of Boonton. It doesn't exist until those entities come together in the location where we find Boonton today. And so in Stanhope and Essex County, those folks are going to have already had Bloomery forges for years. They're going to get into the furnace business. And the Trenton Iron Company, that's Cooper and Hewitt, they're going to create one of the first huge integrated iron companies that own both mines, transportation, manufacture, and shipping. And of course, Waterloo, one of our favorite places, and the Morris Canal fit right into that structure. So, people in Morris County and northern New Jersey start building blast furnaces to use that anthracite coal. It isn't until the 1840s that they actually figure out how to do that. It's one of those tricky technical things. They've been making iron with charcoal for years. They got that blast furnace thing down pretty good, but using anthracite coal as a blast furnace fuel doesn't exactly work the same way. So it takes quite a bit of fussing around to a lot of some creative people with the capital to do that, to discover how that can work. And so that is done in Pennsylvania, and that technology has moved to northern New Jersey. And in places like Boonton in the 1840s, they're building, they're taking their first blast furnace and they're refitting it to become an anthracite fuel fired blast furnace. And again, in Sussex County, they're the first ones to use that technology in New Jersey. That's actually a picture from 1900. That furnace went on and on and on until the 1800s. The Singer Sewing Machine Company acquired the property. They needed cast iron for all those parts for their sewing machines, so they wanted to own that their own personal supply of iron. So, in order for mines and forges and furnaces to take advantage of the Morris Canal, they had to be able to get their products to the canal, and so that was first accomplished with tramways, um, lightweight railroads pulled by animals, and so things like the Ogden Mine Railroad first took its course through Jefferson Township and ended where it geographically could on Lake Apacong, and then with these ore docks. And so iron ore from the mines in Jefferson Township was then shipped by canal boats that were towed across the lake, filled at this ore dock. There's a great picture over there of them being filled up, towed across the lake into the canal, and then shipped. The iron ore at this point is going to Pennsylvania. This, of course, grows to the point that this is an iron mine railroad map, and this is Jefferson and I guess Morris County, and so we have our canal going through here. But it's very, very difficult for that canal to actually reach up into the iron district, and so you first got tramways to access those mines, tramways in Jefferson, tramways from the Mount Hope mine to Rockaway. And so, and then railroads were built from mines to the canal. But eventually, the other 20 years after the canal is opened, railroads are becoming through entities, and they start siphoning off that business. It takes quite a long time to accomplish. It takes us until the 1870s before they pretty much control that market. But business always moves on. So, but where's all of this stuff today? This is Split Rock Furnace. It's the only standing stone blast furnace remained in Morris County, and it's basically there because it's isolated. It was on reservoir property for years, and it still is, as a matter of fact. But nobody ever got an opportunity to build any condos on top of it. It's a great story. Many of the things that I'm going to talk about are great. So we could be here for 4 hours, but Janice is not going to let me. She's going to pull the plug. So I'm going to have to quit at some point here. But a great place to visit. This was a furnace built in the 1860s. It's always been considered to be what were they thinking? They built a charcoal-fired blast furnace in the 1860s? Well, the guy who owned it owned the property, he owned the land, he owned the charcoal, and he's hell with it. I'll do it. And it really wasn't that bad of an idea because the transportation system was really all there. They had built a tramway and then a railroad from the Hibernia mines to Rockaway, and that's only a very short distance to his furnace. And he actually did very well with it. So we have a cross section of the blast furnace here. You've got a stone stack. You've got a center column into which you load your materials, fuel, or a little limestone. It's fueled from above. You're burning your fuel. The heat is melting your ore. The oxygen that you're blowing in from below is causing chemical reactions that separates the slag. The slag. This is great stuff. When you're doing archaeology and you find this stuff, okay, we got the right place now. This stuff doesn't travel very far. This is a really dense piece that was given to us tonight. And this must have been a really bad day at the furnace because it's really heavy. A lot of iron went out on the slag that day. See the great technology we've got here? Okay, so all the material, this is a little crazy. Material is brought from above. It's smelted in the furnace. It's tapped out into a pig bed, and those pig irons are cooled and shipped as the finished product. We've got a wonderful sand cast pig in the office for you to see. Somebody gave us an actual, not a modern piece of cast iron. This is a sand cast pig from a blast furnace, just like this. It's a great artifact. Split Rock is not just a furnace, it's a whole village. And it's basically all there. It's never been messed with. The foundations of all those buildings that you see in my little diagram there are pretty much all there. And even the Split Rock is still there. People may tell you they know where the Split Rock is. They say that it's under the dam. No, it's not there. It's up at the other end of the lake. It's right adjacent to Split Rock Reservoir. And when this furnace was running, Split Rock was only the same, about half the size it is today. Every once in a while, they drop the lake down for repairs. And when they drop the lake down, the Split Rock comes up again. So every 10 years, you get to visit the Split Rock. So anyway, you can still visit this site and see many of those same things. Right nearby are the Hibernia mines. This is a huge outcropping of that anthracite, magnetite ore that we talked about. This is a 2-mile long outcropping of ore. It's huge. It was known by the Indians who lived here before white folk came along, and you can see by the early 1900s, it was a vast industrial operation. The original vein was owned by many different people. You can see the Andover mine, Crane mine, Church mine, DeCamp mine, different people owned different slices of that vein and worked it for many years independently. At some point, they all got tired of fussing with getting in each other's way, and they built the Hibernia Underground Railroad. They built a tunnel, an added tunnel that went all the way through the vein, almost 2 miles through the hillside. This is the added. I'm going to use my super duper. That's okay. Where's my real pointer? That's always reliable. Here's that outlet and the tunnel. And that accessed everybody's mine and allowed them to, have a cooperative effort that bring their product out to the surface. Now, that adit tunnel is still in there, still there. I've been in that tunnel many times. It's all blocked off now to keep us safe from ourselves. You can say they did a wonderful job of putting that up, huge, great to get to keep people out. But when I was a kid, you could go up there. The owners would put an iron door on that aperture, and they would weld it closed. And the kids from the local father with the body shop would come, and they would cut it open, and you could just wander into that mine. And it was a pretty creepy adventure, but it was something that it was a great experience to be able to do. Let me go back and say, this is a picture from 1917, and there's guesstimating of what they had taken out of this mine, this area here, and what was still left in place. So for all the years that they worked, all the different mining operations, there's still more down there than they ever took out. Okay, there's some more pictures of how many people have driven through Hibernia? It doesn't look like that anymore, does it? They've moved Green Pond Road. How many people have shopped in the Green Pond General Store, Hibernia General Store? A couple of hands go up. I still remember that stood for years and years and years and years. It finally burned down. And so it was, there it is, right there, right right there at the heart of a mining community. And so here are the morning shift getting ready to go into the mine. This is the tail end of the Hibernia Underground Railroad. It was that the rails went through the mountain, through that added tunnel, and then came out into the air and extended out on this long above ground trestle to dump the ore in different places along the way. That, of course, has crumbled years and years and years ago. And so now Green Pond Road goes right through that intersection. All of that has disappeared, but this was a very busy industrial site. And now it's still, it's a sleepy little town that kind of looks like this, but not long ago looked like that, dirt road. And there's the church and the miners' houses, the places where the people who worked there lived. Those houses are still there. This is New Street, and those are double block miners' houses. They're all made into single family houses now, but they're still lived in, still useful. Those bloomery forges that I mentioned, smaller operations, much less capital intensive. If Mr. McKelvey, you look like a landowner, you might have some nice water facilities on your land, a nice fall of water that would make a good bloomery forge, and you might build such a forge, but you wouldn't want to get your hands dirty. So you would lease it to this gentleman over here. He looks very handy. And bloomery forges turn out much less product than those large furnaces that we looked at, but they turn out that really good wrought iron, this stuff, directly from the ore. And so this is very good, gnarly material. Long before people could make steel on a regular basis, they were making this stuff. This is a piece of a merchant bar. This would have been an 8-foot long bar. And somebody lopped off a piece and they tapered one end and pounded the other end and made it into a wedge. And this was found in the wheel pit of the forge at Split Rock. Split Rock had a forge and a furnace. And so this is a very, very rare thing to find. Very good, gnarly stuff. In New Jersey, they took this ancient bloomery forge process and they refined it. They not only they made it more efficient, they started heating the blast. You can see these, you've got your hearth down here where you are making your bloom. And so all your hot gases from your fire are going up this chimney. And this is a heater pipe, and you've got you're blowing air through that until you have a couple of 100 degrees, and then you're blowing it through your firebox, and you're producing a much, much more efficient operation. You're making a 200-pound bloom instead of a 50-pound bloom. That's a nice big piece of metal. There's actually a few pictures of this kind of operation. Very, very, very scarce. This is a picture of the Split Rock Forge. This is the Wyndham Forge up in Sussex County. That is one of those hearths that you see in the diagram here. They're using blowing cylinders instead of bellows. They're taking the whole bloomery process to a whole other level. And this kind of technology stuck around until the 1880s. And so they started to be able to make steel cheaply and efficiently. And eventually there's virtually nobody makes wrought iron anymore. Okay, so, and there's remnants of these forges still to be found. This is the Lower Longwood Forge of Jefferson Township. And so this is all pretty obscure stuff. But if you know where to look, you can find this operation. You can find the dam you can find the base of the hammer, that big hammer that we saw pictures of, and you can actually find the shaft from there is the flutter wheel that ran the hammer, and so you can see that it's got a little short shaft there. There is the shaft, and that is in the muck if you know where to look. Every 10 years or so, there's a really, really dry year. Water table goes way down, things are dry, the river doesn't get into this area, and this huge artifact comes up. And you can actually, if you get in there with a pair of high boots, you can actually clean it off. And it's still there because it's too big to steal. It weighs a couple of tons. So it's a huge artifact. And there's my drawing of, it's got the hubs and all the apertures to run that flutter wheel. Okay, what do we have now? Okay, also other artifacts from other places. You saw in my diagram of these Bloomery Forge hearths, that metal, that box in which the bloom was created, had iron, was an iron basket, so to speak. And so the plates that made the sides of that chamber can still be found in some places. This is the Durham Forge up in the Farney Highlands. And this stuff is really pretty hard to find sometimes. Anybody find that in there? Somewhere's in there. But if you look hard enough, rake away some of those leaves, move some of those sticks, you find this huge several ton hearth plate. And the hole in the center is for the tweers to blow the air into the into the hearth. And so there's a couple of places where you still can find these very, very rare pieces. And so these things come up all the time. This is a piece of a billet from one of these forges found on the Picatinny Arsenal site. Jason Huggins, the historian, shared that with me, and it's a rare piece. It's been half hammered out. You can see here's the billet. It's been half hammered, and something happened. For some reason, it never got finished. It was discarded, and for Mr. Huggins to find years and years later. And here's that piece of merchant bar that I showed you. That very handsome fellow is a Swedish hammerman. You can see he's looking very, he's got that wonderful leather apron. He's got his tongs in hand that he uses to manipulate his charge. And he's got very heavy clogs on his feet, so he doesn't burn his feet. Okay. All right, this is a real archaeology adventure. This was an adventure way back in 2009, and this is a family that owns a house, down near Jockey Hollow, just across the county border. And so, house up here, and this guy really, really, really wanted to have a garden, and so it had been a forge site. He knew that it was a forge site, but he really, really wanted a garden. So he was torn between the two. So he hired a contractor to go at this very wet, marshy place. The Passaic River is actually right over there, over that pile of junk in there. And so to dig out the forge site. And so the guy waded in there with his equipment and actually created this pit of muck. He was able to identify the actual sides of the building, and in that muck was all kinds of wonderful goodies. You can see these huge beams here, and those little supports that were up into those notches. All of that stuff came out of the mud, and so this went on for about 2 months. Every time we got to go up there, they had pulled out more stuff and pulled out more stuff. All of this wood that had been, um, anything that had been submerged in that muck, no oxygen was getting at it. It survived for years and years and years until finally it was pulled out. And so it was a great adventure trying to figure out what this stuff was all about. And so made a diagram. The guy's house was up here, and the dam raised the level of the river enough to power two different water wheels, one to fire the hammer, one to do the bellows. There were two forge fires, and all that was pretty much visible in that great pile of mud. And so every time we got to go up, we would identify more and more stuff. And that's Beers Riley again, diligently writing everything down on this wonderful stump that always seemed to be there. Every time we went, this stump was there. I mean, what was that all about? We didn't really know what it was all about, but it was one of our favorite artifacts until we finally figured out. We started putting all these pieces together, figuring out how they actually fit together. And those huge beams that I showed you pictures of, and this huge stump, and that was actually the base for that huge drop hammer that we saw pictures of. And so it took us about a month to figure out that that was upside down. And that was one of those fascinating things that, you know, you couldn't quite imagine happening, but somebody had found that thing, that plug with the iron stake in it. Well, if you turn this over, on the other side, you find the hole into which that fits. And if you turn that over and you stick it into that cross section of all those beams with those notches all put together, and then you drop that anvil base on top of it, this pin fits into that hole and the picture comes together. These, of course, are pictures of real artifacts from different places. The ones in the upper right-hand corner are from Ringwood, on the front lawn of the mansion at Ringwood. And this is an anvil base that is in a roadside pull-off along Route 23. Really cool. What you usually see is the other side with the hole in which the anvil fits, but if you walk around the back, you find that hole, and you find out that the hole fits the pin, that fits the stump, that fits the picture. So sometimes things come together. Not often, but sometimes they do. So mining, of course, went on in North Jersey up until our times. This is the New Leonard Complex at Mount Hope, and when it stayed in operation until the 1970s. This is now pretty much just an open quarry, unfortunately, and most of those buildings have been torn down. And this is the Scrub Oak Mine in Roxbury Township, very near our lock site at Morton, and that operated until the late 1950s. Huge modern operations turning out thousands and thousands of tons of iron, instead of iron ore. And so what's with the mining? What is you can see mine holes. You can go to a park and see little dips in the earth that are, used to be mines, and that's kind of interesting. But what actually is going on underground? Well, there are places that you can find out. Places you shouldn't go, by the way. I'm going to show you some pictures. Don't go there. Anyway, this is the Coghill mine, which I'm not going to tell you where it is, but it's in a rather inaccessible place. But it's one of the few places that is high on a ridge. Water table is very low, and you can actually experience what's going on underground. You've got a vein of iron here, and they have dug into it with an added tunnel and several shafts, and they've got several layers of stopes that are going into the ore body. And so they're working on going lower and lower. And so this is pretty much all there. There's the adit, this opening right here. And it's pretty much it's good highlands granite rock on either side of where the ore used to be. And it's pretty much not going anyplace. It's just happens to be, high and dry and open because of its very unique geography. So that's what you see inside. They've taken the ore out of there and you put Miss Riley and myself in there. And so the miners have taken the ore and they've left the hanging wall and the foot wall. And that is the bottom of the first level, the second level, rather. There's one level above that. And you can see that they've occasionally driven shafts, all the way up to the surface. And there's lots of stuff that's come down to fill up the bottom of that working area, but it's basically still open and not full of water, which is very, very unusual. The lower adit tunnel that goes into the bottom workspace is still open. You can see our neighbor Hank there crawling out. Again, don't go there. There's Hank and Bierce with their hard hats looking off into the darkness. None of this all connects anymore. It's very much been abandoned for a long time. Material has come down and filled up these spaces, and it's not a safe place to go. And so that's what you usually see on the surface. Very rarely do you see, anybody down there in the hole. That's a long ways down, by the way. All right. As we have heard on the news, sometimes these places do come back to haunt us. Those people who drive on Route 80 and, like to go to work sometimes, and some of those mine holes don't stay buried forever. And so when a mine is in operation, the miners keep it clear and safe. When such places are abandoned, they are pretty much left to decay. I think I got these out of order. So, all right. So a mine in operation is basically you've got a vein of iron ore in the gray. The surface of that outcrop is covered with overburden, glacial junk just been dumped on the surface of the earth. And so the miners dig down through that overburden. They come to the crap rock. They dig their shafts and their drifts into that ore body and take out their ore. At the bottom, they collect whatever water collects in a sump and pump it out. Where their workings come up to the near the surface into that water, into that overburden. They put some timbers in up to hold the roof on to keep things coming down and clobbering the miners, and everything works fine. But when you abandon such a thing, all that starts to go to pot. And so the overburden comes down and fills your workspace. The bottom of your mine becomes full with water. And what you see are, pits that used to be shafts, pits that used to be just tests, and adit tunnels that are completely, covered on the surface, except for maybe a slot of earth that you can identify things for. And in most cases, that's okay. It's interesting. You can go and find out where these things happened. And so, but very few times can you actually look inside the earth and see what was going on. And so, but in a few opportunities, a few situations where these things come back to haunt you. A very large mine in the in Wharton, the Orchard mine, came back to haunt the folks there in 2000. The Orchard mine shaft opened up. You can see that's a very deep hole. Most mine operations that close down, they don't do a very good job of sanitizing their work area. And so there's a picture from the early 1900s. Those railroad crossings are still there today. That's the no. I'm trying to think of the name of the building. That building is still there, but it's drastically changed. Anyway, and you can see the mine in the background. And so, and in the diagram, you can see that was a very complex, very deep mine. And so in the town of Wharton has acquired that property now. It used to be a maintenance yard for a trucking company, and they've pretty much cleaned all that out. The last time that shaft opened up, they did a good job of capping it, so that shouldn't happen again. And so they're turning that into the Orchard Mine Township Park. And I've been working with the landscape architect that's doing the design work, and so he's going to turn it into a park that has some reference to the actual use of the site over the years. And so this is going to build a replica of the head frame, be part of it. And of course, what we've all experienced, the Mount Pleasant mine, which is not really a very big mine, but that it only has two shafts, one here and one there. But that main shaft was right under the westbound lane of Route 80. So it caused that until they went to it and closed the road, and they actually built a bridge over the shaft. They went to bedrock on either side and used concrete slabs over the top of the shaft from bedrock to bedrock, and then covered it back up again. And so hopefully that will solve the problem for a while. But
Hey, Joe, did they fill the holes or they just cover?
just covered. It's a very deep hole. I mean, you would think, just fill up that hole. Yes, an underground bridge. Yes. A dear friend who just passed away, Tim Miller, showed me some pictures of what they did. And as you say, they went to bedrock on either side and concrete slabs over the top of the shaft. And that
What did they do before? They just put it on top of it?
they probably put, when shafts like that are abandoned, the overburden collapses in and usually forms a plug, which is kind of okay, usually in a place where there's not much going on. The water table of that water fill shaft below goes up and down, dry days, wet days, dry days. And so eventually that begins to push that plug until sometimes it gives up and comes in and leads to a mess. And so that's obviously what happened here. They thought they had a good plug. I'm sure the engineers weren't that dumb. They certainly knew that mine was there. There had been mine safety reports published years before. And so they thought they had a safe situation, and they did not. Came back to haunt us in big time. So, okay. All kinds of artifacts are around you in all different places you don't expect. When was the last time you saw one of those? This is at Waterloo Village. Near the maintenance, there's a grove of trees, and in that grove of trees, there's actually a cell phone. I've never actually heard it ring, but yeah. Anyway, coming to it. One more picture. Okay, if you like this kind of stuff, I do industrial heritage walks for the Morris County Park Commission, and a lot of these things we're going to be doing guided walks for this year. I've been doing this for about 20 years, and so some of you, many of you have been on some of these walks. If you like this kind of stuff, come up and give me your email and I'll put you on the list. This is kind of a quick list of some of the walks that I'm going to do this coming year. So let me know if you'd like to join in. And how about some questions? I know there's lots of stuff that I missed.
I have a question.
Yes.
First of all, you're related labs.
Yes.
And there's a guy who does a book that talk about that. He was the consulting engineer on that project.
Oh,
Professor
yeah.
I can get you his name.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd like to talk to him. Yeah. Mhm. Okay.
The question I have is that you were talking about these currents.
Yes.
Now I grew up around that area. I know
Yeah.
that there used to be a railroad that went up to the Hibernia mine,
Right.
but how did they transport from the split rock furnace? Because there was no railroad that went up there.
No.
How did they transport it?
2 miles down the road that still exists down to Meriden. And that joins the railroad right there.
So it was like carriages.
Yeah. Just like they did in the old days. Yes, it wasn't that far off the beaten track. They had built the Hibernia mine railroad, which was first a tramway, animal powered, and then eventually they improved the right of way for locomotives, of such as they were in the day. But it wasn't that far as a transportation problem. What killed that furnace was technology was advancing so rapidly in all directions that eventually making iron that way just became absolutely impractical. Other questions, sir?
Brief technical. Hot blast that goes through the 2 years into the furnace, is that going directly into like the molten metal?
Yes.
All right, so what keeps this from flowing back into the 2 years? Just the airway pressure?
Let me modify that. That it blown in below the Bosch. That's where the furnace lining is constricting. So you've got a platform on which a large mound of material is melting and becoming liquefied. And so just below that, you're blowing in a very powerful blast from several different directions of heated air. And so then below that is a constricted area that's a crucible, and that's where the liquid iron actually collects. And so you don't want to get your liquid iron in your crucible up to the 2 years level. That would make a real mess.
Got it.
Other questions? Sir?
Briefly, not getting too technical, difference between pig iron, wrought iron, steel.
Okay. Making wrought iron is relatively easy. You can, with a relatively low temperature, you can break the chemical bonds, and ore, no matter how hard you hit it, is still ore. You have to smelt it. You have to break the chemical bonds. So you've got ferrous iron. And so that ferrous iron that you make in a Bloomberry has very, very little carbon in it. You burned all the carbon out. And so that finished product is malleable wrought iron. In a blast furnace, you've got much, much higher temperatures, and you're actually smelting the iron in contact with the fuel. And so it absorbs a lot of carbon and is brittle. That's what makes it brittle, is the amount of carbon. Now, the tricky thing to make steel, that's what the thing that you need to make a sword to stab your neighbor with, has just the right amount of carbon in it. That makes it hard enough to be able to put a cutting edge on it, but still not brittle and a certain amount flexible. And so for hundreds and hundreds of years, it was very difficult to make steel. People did it in all different, very convoluted ways, but it was nobody until the 19th century knew of mass production ways to do that. Mr. Bessemer was one of the people who learned to do that first, and then several other people. Sorry. Other questions? Okay. Thank you, folks.